A High Court order to UTAG to return to the classroom after 5 weeks of strike.
Embattled Assin North MP in court for the first time over fresh suit and granted bill sum of 100,000 cedis.
Transport fares still in limbo as operators and government fail to reach compromise.
And UK study suggests pollution of the world's rivers from medicines and pharmaceutical products poses a threat to environment and global health. This is News Hour coming to you live on GBC News and GTV. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the news. I'm Suyoko Kwakutre.
My name is Shirley Annan. Robert Frimpong will translate the news into sign language. The Labour Division of the Accra High Court has ordered the University Teachers Association of Ghana UTAG to call off their strike.
The order follows an application for interlocutory injunction moved by the National Labour Commission (NLC) to compel the striking union to go back to work pending determination of the substantive matter, which has to do with enforcement of the NLC's directive to UTAG to call off the 5-week-old strike.
Tuesday, February 15, 2022, the court, presided over by Justice Frank Roxanne Abodji, said it has taken judicial notice of the attempts to settle the matter. The court said negotiations cannot be conclusive if UTAG is still on strike. Consequently, the notice for interlocutory injunction was granted while the substantive matter for enforcement has been adjourned to February 22, 2022. This means while the substantive case is to be heard, UTAG is to put on hold the strike and go back to the negotiation table with government. The University Teachers Association has from January 10, 2022 withdrawn their services and has for the past month not been able to reach any agreement with the government. The court on February 2, 2022 ordered the NLC and UTAG to settle the issue out of court. However, the university teachers and the NLC have been at loggerheads for weeks. The strike has affected academic activities in the public universities. NLC had gone back to court to secure an order to compel teachers of UTAG to go back to the classrooms. The court, presided over by Justice Frank Roxanne Abodji, has given the parties another chance to settle the matter out of court. Justice Abodji adjourned the case to Tuesday, February 15, 2022, for an outcome of their deliberation. Meanwhile, representatives of both the NLC and UTAG reacted to the decision by the court.
Well, I am not aware of any active negotiations ongoing at the moment. I am not aware of that. My understanding of the whole matter is that the government had said that if they did not suspend the strike, no negotiations will be had. So that's the point where we are. There's complete frigid silence on negotiations at the moment. So no negotiations are currently ongoing. And I wish to remind you that the main motion, which is seeking to enforce the directives of the Commission, is still before the court. The hearing of that application has been adjourned to the 22nd. So on the 22nd, we're back in court for the main motion to be heard. And let me repeat that that main motion is seeking to enforce the directives of the Commission. And the directive of the Commission is that UTAG should go back to the classroom because the strike they have declared is illegal.
As we know, they are already on strike. The Commission had made its own determination given its directive. So having filed a substantive action, that is the enforcement of our directive, in the meantime, we sought to file this interlocutory application which the court has granted. This order means that while the substantive case is being heard or is going to be heard, which will start on the 22nd of March, UTAG is to call off a strike, return to the lecture hall whilst the substantive matter is being heard. And as the judge rightly referred, in their own affidavit, if the court grants this application, they have no option than to return to the lecture halls as the court directs, and that is what the court upheld.
The NDC Member of Parliament for Assin North constituency, Mr. James J. Kwesen, has pleaded not guilty to 5 criminal charges: deceit of a public officer, forgery of passport or travel certificate, knowingly making a false statutory declaration, perjury and false declaration for office. The MP appeared before the court after a criminal summons was issued against him on February 9, 2022.
In court on Tuesday, February 15, 2022, the MP denied any wrongdoing to all 5 charges leveled against him. He was admitted to bail in the sum of 100,000 cedis with a surety to be justified. He is also to deposit his passport at the registrar of the court. The court had earlier turned down a request from his lawyer, Mr. Chachuchikata, who had argued that a constitutional provision which arose in the counts 3, 4 and 5 of the charge sheet ought to be referred to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Mr. Chikata, arguing on an application for bail, said a self-recognizance bail was an appropriate bail condition for the accused person, taking into consideration his status and a public officer. However, Deputy Attorney General Mr. Alfred Tuayeboa said prosecution was not opposed to the grant of bail, but urged the court not to grant the MP a self-recognizance bail in view of what has happened. Mr. Tuayeboa suggested that the accused deposit his passport to the registrar of the court. The court ordered the prosecution to file all disclosures, witness statements, and intends to rely on in the case within 3 weeks and have same served on the accused. The state on February 3, 2022, charged Mr. James J. Kwesen, the MP for Assin North, with 5 counts including perjury. Mr. Kwesen, who contested the primary seat of the Assin North constituency and won on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress, had his seat declared vacant by the Cape Coast High Court on his alleged Canadian nationality switch, but he has since filed an appeal. With the criminal suit filed by the Attorney General, Mr. Kwesen is facing 5 criminal charges. The charges are deceit of public officer, forgery of passport or travel certificate, knowingly making a false statutory declaration, perjury and false declaration for office. The case has been adjourned to March 15, 2022.
The remains of 18-year-old Abdul Hakim Yakubu, who died during Sunday's clash between residents of Lamashegu and the police, have been interred. The young man was hit by a stray bullet allegedly fired by a police officer during a street protest at Lamashegu.
The protest followed another shooting incident involving the police at the Lamashegu Chief's Palace on Sunday. The deceased recently graduated from junior high school and was awaiting his basic education certificate examination results. The family are asking for justice for the deceased young man. Hundreds of residents trooped to the cemetery to pay their last respect to the young man. A social media campaign has been launched to demand justice for Hakim. Earlier today, some irate youth set a chamber and hall apartment occupied by a fire service officer in what residents suspect to be a reprisal attack. The caretaker of the house, who addressed the media, explained that the target was a police officer who is also a tenant in the house.
We saw that there's a petrol around the veranda and the matches, meaning someone came around to bend it. And that particular room she's living in, there was a policeman in that particular room who left to the next room, but maybe the person still think that the policeman is still living in that particular room, because they have conflict with the Lamashegu area and the police. Then that is why they were trying to bend him inside.
The assemblyman for the Lamashegu South electoral area, Mashoud Issa, expressed worry about the development and called for calm among residents of the area.
Very bad, to be frank, because the police are there for us and we're also there for them. even if there are misunderstandings between the people and the police, we should sit down and find amicable solution to it. But we, the youth, rather starting to attack the police, we are rather worsening the issue.
Members of Parliament have called for swift disciplinary action against all the police officers involved in the recent sporadic shooting incident in Tamale that led to the death of a JHS graduate and 4 other people got injured. The minority leader and MP for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, in whose constituency the incident happened, said police brutalities are becoming contagious in Tamale. Other members who contributed to the statement called for justice for the deceased.
Speaker, we've had enough of the unjustified brutalities and violence on the citizens of Tamale by the police, and we want to say enough is enough. Policing is a shared responsibility. They need the cooperation of the people. And with this attitude, Mr. Speaker, we cannot guarantee that that will be done. Whilst calling for full-scale investigation into the matter, I understand that the police have already commenced one. It will be important that those affected for a loss of life, how do you compensate for this?
The real story behind such brutalities, meted out against ordinary citizens by men in uniform, is that when these lives are lost, women will become widows, kids will become orphans, livelihood of children and families will be truncated, education of kids will be truncated. These are the true stories behind such barbarous acts committed against ordinary citizens by those whose comfort and safety is ensured by our taxes. The Speaker, Abdul Hakim's faith is not to be viewed in isolation. Across the country, we seem to have records of people meeting their untimely death as a result of excessive police use of force, when sometimes it is not required.
I want to plead with Mr. IGP that as soon as possible, we expect an inquiry, we expect a report, we expect to hear something positive from the police. And to all police officers across the country, please and please and please again, know when to use live ammunition, live bullets, know when to shoot. It is not about shooting. Don't be trigger happy.
The government and the commercial transport operators are holding opposing positions on increment in transport fares expected to take effect in the coming weeks, whilst the coalition of private transport operators is proposing an increment of not less than 20%. Government, on the other hand, is pushing for a 10% increment. A 3-hour meeting, the second to be held in 1 week, ended in a standoff as both parties held entrenched positions. We earlier spoke to Mr. Abbas Imoro, Head of Communications, Ghana Private Road Transport Union, on their next line of action.
The meeting has to be postponed because on our request, I will have to go back and meet for a final meeting because we were not satisfied with the 10% being given by government. We represent a large congregation, so we have to go back and meet. And you see, this increment has been long overdue. Yeah. If you can recall, we started this struggle from last year, somewhere in November, when we were agitating for scrapping out of some levies and taxes, which of course will not come with any upward adjustment in lorry fares. The government has not given to that. Then there are prices of spare parts are climbing up. Fuel is swelling up. We have no choice to survive this business than to come up with an upward adjustment. Hence our decision as at where we are today. For now, if we don't do what we are doing, meaning we have to pack our vehicles, you can imagine it, we have a threshold of 10% increment in fuel. And now if you calculate, we've gone beyond 30, 35 upward after the 30% increment. We've gone far, far, far beyond the threshold of 10%. So we find it uneasy with the government 10%, which is woefully inadequate. That is likely to come up with anything I can suggest.
The Ghana Association of Writers has announced the call for submission of qualified literary works from January 1, 2021 to March 30, 2022. The 6th Ghana Association of Writers Literary Award to be held in November 2022 is under the theme Honoring Literary Excellence.
The Ghana Association of Writers Literary Awards was first held in August 1987 after the founding of Ghana Association of Writers under the leadership of Professor Atukwe Okai. The awards were established to honor, inspire, and celebrate outstanding literary works. Literary works play critical roles in the development of a nation since it embodies the philosophy, culture, and identity of a society. The president of the Ghana Association of Writers, Mr. Francis Gbomita, says the awards has become a platform for not only recognizing excellence in the literary world, but also unearthing talents across the country.
The award has been instituted to honor literary excellence. It is also instituted so that the younger generation of writers will be inspired by the award scheme that we give to those who we can call seasoned, especially those that we have in our literary clubs in the SHS schools and the tertiary branches. They will all be inspired to contribute to the literary activities of this country.
The Secretary of the Ghana Association of Writers Literary Planning Committee, Mr. Prince Joe Lati, says this year the award will recognize writers in 12 categories: novel, short story, poetry, children's storybook, children's poetry, young writers, creative non-fiction, drama spoken words, script writing, Ghanaian language special award, science and mathematics textbooks writers special award.
When writers in Ghana are organizing an event, it becomes very difficult to get sponsorship. And so I'm appealing to all out there that we should come together. If we are able to promote these awards, then of course it will motivate writers to write more and churn out information that will be good for public consumption and the growth of this country. So I'm making this appeal on behalf of the Ghana Association of Writers for corporate bodies to come in and help this particular event so that it becomes a success.
The opening submission date is February 15, 2022, and the closing date is Friday, April 30, 2022. You're still watching News Hour Live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. The Ghana Commission for the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in collaboration with the Ghana Institute of Journalism and the Ghana Journalists Association, have held a forum to mark World Radio Day. This year's edition of the celebration was on the theme Radio and Trust, the Ghanaian story in the Fourth Republic.
Radio, one of the oldest mass media outlets, is still one of the most trusted sources of information. Radio has been one of the vital elements of the life of Ghanaians since 1966. Radio broadcast plays an important role in enforcing democratic culture by keeping listeners informed and providing forums to hold healthy debates and discussions on developments. World Radio Day is celebrated on the 13th of February every year. The day is set aside to recognize the relevance, independence, and reliability of radio to the development of society. The day was first proclaimed by UNESCO and all UN member states in 2011 and was adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2012. A Deputy Minister for Information, Madam Fatimatu Abubakar, encouraged all media practitioners to respect the ethics of journalism by feeding the public with truthful, verifiable, and accurate information. She also assured the practitioners of the ministry's efforts to protect journalists from assaults.
I think it is only fair that as we seek to cooperate with all of our stakeholders within the information space, also grant us the opportunity for us to always resort to dialogue and not violence.
The president of the GJA, Mr. Arthur Muni, congratulated all media practitioners and media owners for their roles in society's development and progress. He, however, lamented the fast deterioration of radio broadcasts due to the poor conduct of some radio stations or those manning them.
In some instances, radio has become the theater for the fetishistic pursuit of agendas far remote from journalism. Little wonder, therefore, that trust in radio is on the wane, while professional sins are on the rise.
The Secretary General of the Ghana Commission for UNESCO, Mrs. Amasewa Nekwe Tete, commended the Ministry of Information for the establishment of the Office of Coordinated Mechanism on the Safety of Journalists, condemnation of attacks, and for the passage of the RTI Bill.
There is more to radio than announcers, news, and songs. Radio stands for companionship, and it's an emotional connection with the listener. It is important to many people, broadcasting 24 hours in some cases, just to ensure that we have up-to-date information.
A panel discussion was held to dissect the issue of radio broadcasting and share opinions on the World Radio Day celebration and to suggest how to improve journalism practice.
His apparel and clean environment in the middle of Accra's hustle and bustle is eye-catching. Patrick Sosu sells plantain in its season, and when the season is out, roast maize. He believes that there is no gender-assigned roles for any type of vacation. Patrick says it is necessary to pull out all the stops for a better life in the capital city, Accra. This is the story of Mr. Patrick Sosu.
Meet 43-year-old Patrick Sosu, who roasts plantain for a living. He's always spotless at his point of sale, clean pair of trousers, shoes and a white shirt. The beginnings of Mr. Sosu's journey dates back to over a decade.
I started this thing like, first I said, it's like a dream. I said, go to the world and preach my word through this pan or through this work. So I said I started this thing at Joel Fiaster Royal Day. To me, if people said the plantain I am making this thing is a woman's job, Auntie, you are hungry. You are hungry. There is a work there, then you say there is a woman work, then you are hungry. Your father or your uncle should give you before you eat. No. So we should change our mentality.
Mr. Sosu says this occupation takes care of his family, a wife and 3 children. The first has completed her tertiary education.
The first one is finished the tertiary, and then the second one is going to teacher training, and then the third one is at the school now, GSS.
He believes that there are many opportunities for the unemployed in Ghana. He says the youth should begin with the little they have rather than resorting to unapproved ways of making money.
The lazy people said there is no work in our country. Why am I saying that there is a work in our country? I said pure water before, and I do a lot on the pure water. And then that time too, I was security. I close for night, then I come to a hawking, and then the night I go to security job. So if people, my youth or my fellow brothers, they are there, they said there is no work in our country, I challenge them that it is not true.
Other traders who work near Mr. Sosu were full of praise for his chosen trade.
He dresses so well. It's rare to see men selling roast plantain. He does it so well.
He gets a lot of sales considering how tidy he keeps his environment.
Mr. Patrick Sosu has hope for a brighter and better future devoid of the COVID-19 pandemic. But for now, it's 1 cedi for a piece of plantain until the new normal settles and life returns to its routine cycle. For GBC News, Shelley Annan reporting.
You're watching News Hour live on GBC News and GTV. We're taking a short break. Please don't go away.
Good evening, welcome to Business, brought to you by Quick Credit. My name is Maurice Ogbeti. I've got the details now. Second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Mrs. Elsie Ado-Awaji, has been reappointed by President Akufo-Addo for a second term. Her first appointment as Second Deputy Governor was in February of 2018.
In her capacity as the Second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Mrs. Elsie Ado-Awaji has oversight of the Bank of Ghana's regulation and supervision of banks and other financial institutions, the macroprudential function, and other key operational functions. She is a member of the bank's board of directors, a member of the Statutory Monetary Policy Committee, and a member of Ghana's Financial Stability Council, which has representation from financial regulatory authorities in Ghana and the Finance Ministry. Mrs. Ado-Awaji has over 25 years of professional experience working in various capacities in Ghana and internationally in law, finance, policy and regulatory reforms, financial sector regulation, sustainable development, and public financial management, among others. She is also a member of the Experts Leaders Group on Women's Financial Inclusion in the Digital Economy. Prior to her appointment as Deputy Governor in 2018, she was Senior Counsel of the Financial and Fiscal Law Unit of the International Monetary Fund (IMF's) Legal Department for 6 years. Before joining the IMF in 2012, Mrs. Awaji was a Commissioner of Ghana Securities and Exchange Commission for 6 years and worked on key financial sector reforms in Ghana and abroad. She has a certificate in WTA law from the Georgetown University Law Center. She also holds an MBA Finance degree, an LLB degree from the University of Ghana, and a postgraduate qualifying certificate to practice law from the Ghana School of Law.
And the technical committee vetting state-owned enterprises for possible listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange has tipped 7 state-owned enterprises as market-ready, pending approval from the Ministry of Finance to get them listed on the Accra Bourse. Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Ms. Abena Amwa, said the move is to make them profitable and attractive to investors.
The GSE and SIGA have formed 2 committees, a steering committee and a technical committee. And throughout the second half of 2010 and all of last year, we were to review about 30 companies. Out of that, we came out with a first short list of about 18 companies. And we've narrowed down to the first 7 companies that we believe are market ready. Many of these companies, Government of Ghana owns 100% in them. There are some of them in the larger group that are JV with other private sectors. So we have done a paper, presented it to the Ministry of Finance. It will go for the shareholder, which is Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Public Enterprises, to approve this first 7 so that they can decide and accept and then put them on the market. Again, we are working with our brokers to ensure this happens. Getting a company on the market means that those of us in this room, all of us who've contributed in our pensions, must be ready, must be attractive, so that we are confident to put our money into these companies. So that first set of 7 companies are ready, but it doesn't mean that the rest cannot come. Those that are not market ready, we are working with them, we'll be working with them to prepare them.
We go to the interbank Forex market, where we see the cedi depreciating some 4.7% against the US dollar to sell at 6 cedis 30 pesos, the pound sterling at 8 cedis 52 pesos, and the euro going for 7 cedis.
Good evening, you're welcome to the energy segment. My name is Mabel Anang. The consistent increase in crude oil prices on the international market is greatly affecting developing countries due to the lack of proper measures to mitigate the situation. Energy analyst Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, in an interview with GBC News, said government must remove some taxes on petroleum products and also invest in a refinery which will help stabilize the pressure on petroleum consumers.
We have to knock out all taxes, and we cannot do that. All right, we are making gains at the upstream. Why don't we make concerted effort to link out this upstream and downstream together? When we do that, I mean, some of the gains that are in the upstream, and we are able to cascade it to the downstream, we can cool the market a little bit temporarily until everything gets settled. Because at the end of the day, it's not anybody's fault. It's just international dynamics that is causing all these things to happen. But like I mentioned, we can't continue to live under the mercy of international dynamics. We have to have internal resilience in terms of our ability to be able to withstand this international dynamics when they hit. And so, yes, local refinery is very important. We need a vibrant and a buoyant local refinery. That in a way can help support the volatility. I mean, to help us keep the kind of volatility that we may have. I'm not saying refinery will just directly bring down oil prices. No. But refinery will give you a bit of a stable market in a way, So yes, let's look at getting a buoyant refinery. Let's look at getting a buoyant storage capability. It's going to be very expensive, but it's very necessary. To the extent that if we are able to retool places like Ghana Gas, Bust, and then get a running refinery, I think these things are going to help us a lot.
Research arm of Fitch Ratings, Fitch Solutions, says Ghana is contemplating an ambitious plan to re-export liquefied natural gas (LNG) to some countries in the sub-Saharan African region. According to Fitch Solutions, it remains bearish on plans by GNPC, given the costly infrastructure needed to be constructed across the region.
Conducted by Bloomberg in January, a manager with Ghana National Petroleum Corporation (GNPC), Mr. Hamis Yusuf, said the company plans to re-export LNG to position Ghana as an energy hub for the region. Under the plans, GNPC will buy LNG from the Tema facility and then transport it throughout sub-Saharan Africa via pipelines, barges and trucks. Fitch observed that though there is rising demand for gas across sub-Saharan Africa, over the long term, there's widespread lack of gas import, transport and storage infrastructure across the region. From Fitch's 10-year forecast period to 2031, Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are the only two countries expected to be net importers of LNG. Other markets across sub-Saharan Africa either meet gas demand through their own domestic supply or simply lack the necessary infrastructure for importing gas, meaning sub-Saharan Africa gas demand will remain constrained until this dynamic is shifted through new investment across the region.
This is how we wrap up on the energy segment. My name is Mabel Anang.
News brought to you by Lufat from Tobinco. Local headquarters, commonly known as Kayaye, and their dependents have benefited from a free health screening of diseases including malaria, anemia, malnutrition, as well as sexually transmitted diseases. Hope Exchange Medical Center, a private health facility in Kumasi, organized the exercise.
By the nature of their work, interacting with different people and working in a crowded or congested area, headquarters remain one of the most exposed people to various contaminations. It is even more scarier during this COVID-19 pandemic season, as without any proper care, their families risk being infected, increasing the community spread. The free health screening by the Pediatric Clinic of Hope Exchange Medical Center was to offer some medical care to that segment of the population deemed less privileged. From COVID-19 vaccination to free medical consultation and provision of medications where needed. Critical cases were referred to the hospital for further examination and treatment. Dr. Ama Akoma Esuman of the Hope Exchange Medical Center said the exercise was to improve healthcare among the headquarters and to also raise awareness on consistently seeking healthcare treatment for their wards.
At a hospital, Hope Exchange Medical Center, one of our goals is to help to reach out to the underprivileged in our community with the healthcare that they can't afford. If your child is sick, the first thing to do is not to go to the drugstore, is to come to the hospital. Let's assess them, because sometimes you might give them the wrong medication, you might give them the wrong amounts of the right medication. There are different things that can go wrong.
Sam Kayaye, who benefited from the health screening, expressed appreciation to Hope Exchange Medical Center for the exercise.
This segment was by kind courtesy Lufat from Tobinco.
Our children deserve better.
My sister, the payment of taxes by you and I will ensure continuous development. Whether you're a carpenter, a mason, a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever your occupation is, pay the right amount of tax no matter how small it is. With this, we will enjoy good roads, benefit from good hospitals, have potable water, educate our children, build our infrastructure, our taxes, our future.
Yafanya misronya jumana nyami besrayen